Developed in the Soviet Union during the peak of the Cold War, yet providing the nucleus for one of the most influential moments in American history. This is the story of the R-7 Semyorka, a ladder to the heavens, how the R-7 ignited American scientific efforts. In 1957, the Soviet Union's launch of Sputnik aboard a repurposed R-7 Semyorka rocket proved that intercontinental ballistic missile technology could be adapted for orbital rocketry. This unprecedented achievement sparked intense fear and urgency in the United States, provoking a national reaction that became known as a space race. In response to the R-7's revolutionary demonstrated capabilities, as well as growing pressure from the public, the American government rapidly mobilized, beginning with the formation of NASA, as well as dramatically increasing federal investment in physics, engineering, and aerospace research. This also caused sweeping reforms in science and mathematics education, leading to a sudden rush of the development of revolutionary new technologies in order to close the gap between the nations. The R-7 Semyorka was an impressive work of technology and science, but its origins were far more violent and complex. The Soviet government was nervous after the United States had stationed nuclear missiles in England, Italy, and Turkey, placing major Soviet cities like Moscow within range. In response, the Soviet government needed a way to deliver nuclear weapons to major American cities to deter attack. Plans for the R-7 began in 1954 when the design was approved by the Soviet government. Work started shortly after at OKB-1, a Soviet design bureau, lasting until 1957 under the direction of Sergei Korolev, the Soviet Union's chief aerospace engineer. To level the playing field, Korolev designed the R-7 as a new missile capable of striking long distances while carrying immense payloads. Its capabilities were unmatched. It could carry a 12,000-pound nuclear warhead with a range of up to 8,800 kilometers. The R-7 entered service as the world's first intercontinental ballistic missile in January of 1960. It served nearly 8 years without combat before retirement due to major technical and logistical challenges, including a 20-hour minimum preparation time and the need for extensive ground infrastructure that prevented rapid strikes or relocation. Although its military service was short, the R-7's modular design, reliability, and structural strength made it ideal for conversion into an orbital launch vehicle. The Soviet Union needed to demonstrate its technological and scientific superiority over the United States, and the development of a new launch system would prove too costly and time-consuming. Such, an R-7 was simply retrofitted to launch a payload into orbit. On October 4, 1957, a modified R-7 launched Sputnik 1 into orbit, the world's first artificial satellite, opening the space age and sending a powerful message that the Soviet Union was now capable of dropping a nuclear weapon on America's doorstep. Immediately after news of Sputnik's successful launch reached the United States, fear grew amongst the American population. The fact that the Soviet Union had beaten the United States to launching a satellite into space sparked fearful reactions, dubbed the Sputnik crisis. US government officials such as Senator Lyndon B. Johnson called the launch a worse defeat for the United States than Pearl Harbor and urged the nation to respond to the growing communist threat in space.
When the Soviet Union launches this first human-made satellite into orbit, it shocks the United States. Americans are stunned.
It's frightening. We should find out what they're doing that we're not doing. And we should do something about it very quickly.
Well, I think that, Russia's getting into space really bothers me because it's making the Cold War between the Russia and the United States, more intense. There's going to be more tension.
Another perspective on this was back in the Soviet Union, where one radio broadcaster informed listeners, "I think that the very fact that this has been achieved in our socialist country must not be regarded as mere chance. Why has it happened that we have been capable of solving these problems ahead of the Americans?" Beyond the military implication, Sputnik was a direct challenge to the United States. For decades, Soviet propaganda had claimed that their country was the more scientifically advanced and futuristic nation. Sputnik provided seemingly irrefutable proof.
The Soviets, they recognize the R-7 as being, sort of this groundbreaking development within the Cold War rivalry.
1 month later, on November 3, 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 2, carrying Laika, a dog, as the first living creature in space, beating the United States to yet another milestone. This further spread the American public's anxiety about a prospect of a Soviet-controlled outer space, adding to the United States' motivation to rapidly pursue new endeavors. Later, President Dwight D. Eisenhower addressed the nation, claiming,
"The Soviet Union now has, in the combined category of scientists and engineers, a greater number than the United States. We need scientists. In the 10 years ahead, they say we need them by thousands more than we're now presently planning to have."
Soon, the US combined unorganized civilian and military space efforts into NASA when Congress passed the National Aeronautic and Space Act in 1958, which stated, "Activities shall be the responsibility of and shall be directed by a civilian agency exercising control over aeronautical and space activities sponsored by the United States." Signed by Eisenhower, this directed a specialized agency dedicated to overseeing American space efforts and allowed for an effective way to perform the research and development of technologies and rockets desperately needed to catch up with the Soviet Union. With the formation of a new agency dedicated to furthering space technology, a new problem arose: education. The United States was currently prioritizing other subjects over STEM, resulting in an inefficient workforce staffing NASA's research and development departments, leading to a much-needed reform in American education. In reaction, the National Defense Education Act, or NDEA, was passed on September 2, 1958, increasing funding for schools and universities, particularly in STEM fields, with billions of dollars. It expanded scholarships, loans, and fellowships to encourage more Americans to pursue higher education, such as college and graduate school, focusing on teaching the next generation how to develop better scientific technology.
So we see immediately then an increase in college enrollment. American students are now being encouraged to enroll in college, particularly in science, mathematics, engineering.
These reforms eventually led to the creation of a skilled workforce capable of advancing scientific research, strengthening military technology, and closing the technological gap with the Soviet Union through the resources available at NASA. As a result, a scientific revolution began in the United States by accelerating research in orbital mechanics, radiophysics, and large-scale engineering systems. During this time, the Soviet Union launched yet another R-7 mission, this time the first human in space, Yuri Gagarin, on April 12, 1961 through the Vostok program, once again beating the United States to a major scientific milestone. The American public's reaction to the Soviets' further expansion into space motivated the development of the Global Positioning System, GPS, the first transatlantic television broadcast, and improved methods of intercontinental communication. In the end, these innovations allowed the United States to secure their first victory in the space race by landing the first man on the moon with the Apollo 11 mission in 1969, an achievement made possible by the pressure created by the R-7's successes and the coordinated efforts of hundreds of American scientists working to surpass the Soviet Union. The R-7's feats still affect modern innovation today, as the modern workhorse of the Russian space program, Soyuz, is still using the platform that the R-7 created. The R-7 Semyorka stands as a powerful reminder that moments of global tension and fear can yield unexpected positive consequences. Designed as a catastrophic weapon during one of the most dangerous periods in human history, the R-7 instead became the catalyst for humanity's expansion into space. Its launch of Sputnik shocked the United States, leading to the creation of NASA as well as the passage of the NDEA. These reforms led to an accelerated flow of revolutionary new ideas and inventions, including GPS and global communications, culminating with the first manned moon landing in 1969, crowning the United States as a global scientific leader once again. The R-7 Semyorka led to revolutionary feats of space science and engineering, sparking a reaction from the United States that led to lasting reform in American education, as well as national focus, impacting modern society almost 50 years later. It sent more than a powerful message. It revolutionized the direction of the world's scientific progress forever.